Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. How are you guys? It's Tuesday, and we have not gotten to our recap of 90 Day Fiancé, but let's just talk about the episode character by character here. Today we'll start with Geoffrey because doing a full recap today is going to be next to impossible. But on this recent episode, we saw Varya come to head with who? Mary and Geoffrey. So Varya, who is a Spitfire from Russia, shows up at Geoffrey's house and is not invited, by the way, in Tennessee. Shows up, she admits that she hasn't talked to him, that he hasn't been responding, that she's just going to go there and tell him that she loves him, and that she tells producers she expects that after seeing her, he's going to propose to her. Like that's what she thinks is going to happen. Now, that's not actually what happened, because when she got there, well, Mary was there. So in the previous episode, we saw Geoffrey rekindling or kindling a on-again, off-again relationship with Mary. He suggested that they take things further, and Mary said that she was all in as long as he was over Varya, to which he told her that there was nothing left with Varya. Cue interference by production. I don't know if it was production interference or not, but Varya insists that she made the decision to go and producers went along with it. Anyways, the night before Varya shows up, he and Mary are on that date for her birthday, and Mary ends up spending the night on Instagram. He said that she had a lot of wine and he let her have some, hokey pokey time or something. I don't even know. When Varya arrives at the door, she grabs Geoffrey and she gives him a kiss, and then Mary walks in and is like, whoa, what the hell? To which Varya goes off on this laden expletives. To which Varya goes off and curses at her and is telling her to go away, B, and what are you doing here, B? And then Mary's like, wait a minute, who are you? What's going on? This is crazy. And Geoffrey's just sitting there kind of shell-shocked, this is great. These ladies are fighting over me. And Varya literally is out for blood. There's steam coming out of her ears. And poor Mary is just like a deer in headlights. Geoffrey is like, you're here. Why are you here? We didn't talk. We haven't talked for months. And, finally, after, Varya literally is screaming at Mary, calling her all kinds of names, Mary is doing her best to keep herself composed. She walks off, she goes and gets her things. Geoffrey is all but ignoring Mary. Well, by the way, Varya is screaming at Mary. In a situation like this, Geoffrey actually did nothing to comfort Mary. He did nothing to say anything to Mary. He made it as though Mary was like the rebound. Now, on Instagram last week, Mary insisted she was not the rebound because she had known Geoffrey for a better part of a decade and they had been on and off before this. Whatever, Mary, you're still the rebound. And then when Varya shows up, Geoffrey all but is like, oh my gosh. And he's just sitting there just like, this wasn't fair to Mary. I mean, that's all he's saying is he's saying it wasn't fair to Mary, but he doesn't talk to Mary. He makes no explanation to Mary. Mary's up in a huff and she's collecting her things and she's trying to walk out, and Varya's like, you better leave, B. And, Geoffrey's like, stop yelling at her. And then he's again not addressing Mary. And Mary's just like, I don't know what's going on here, but I have to leave. Okay. Well, on Instagram, Mary went live yesterday, and this is what she had to say about why she had to leave.
Afraid that I would cry. I didn't want to cry in front of them. I didn't want to do that. I needed to compose myself. I needed to find my center, and I needed to get out of there and out of the situation before anything escalated any further than what I needed to. So I couldn't do that. I had to. Is one of the top 100.
Okay. She also went on to defend Geoffrey and said that even though all of this went down, she would not speak negatively about him and that he is still her friend. It's unclear whether these two are still together, but she claims she had to leave because Geoffrey, she was going to cry. She didn't want to cry in front of them, and they needed to figure out what was going on. But then she also was on, and now here is what, and she also had something else to say, which I'll show you right here. She shared this: you'll never know how strong your heart is until you learn to forgive who broke it. And then she wrote, well, now that we have watched my heart being shredded on national TV, let's all remember hate gets us nowhere, and holding a grudge is like holding a burning ember. It does more damage than letting go. So she has forgiven Geoffrey, even though he basically made her look like the side chick and was sort of minimizing the fact of Mary's involvement with him, even though the night before he was basically telling her that he wanted to be all in with her, wanted to have a relationship with her, and that he was over Varya. Mind you, once Mary takes off, Varya sits down with him. She's crying. He's saying that he's still in love with her. They're holding hands. And it's like they're going to try to work things out, and he lets Varya stay with him. Yeah, that's right. He agrees to allow Varya to stay with him for 2 weeks, only the day after he had Mary over at his house with a date telling her that he wanted to move forward with her. And Mary on Instagram says she's forgiven him for this. Are you a glutton for punishment, Mary? Like, I can't figure out Mary, because Mary is a nurse. And she seems to be really sweet and have a really good heart, but she seems absolutely clueless or either completely unwilling to look at what a tool bag Geoffrey is, because Geoffrey seemed to love the fact that these two women were fighting over him. It almost seemed to have this like glee on his face. It was gross to me. Varya, I mean, you can't fault, Varya looked like a damn stalker. Let's just be clear. He's like, couldn't you have just called me? You didn't call me. You didn't even communicate with me. And she's like, well, I always communicated with you. The lines were always open with me. And he was like, but I never responded. That should have been your cue. And she was like, well, and he's like, I can't believe you didn't tell me you were coming. You could have at least told me. And she's like, well, what if you would have said no? So Varya literally it's unhealthy, Varya. It's unhealthy for you to go over to the United States after someone hasn't talked to you for 3 months. This is equivalent to doing a drive-by of an ex-boyfriend, but you are doing a flyby. And you are fly-bying into the United States to check in on your boyfriend that you dumped 3 months ago, or who dumped you 3 months ago because you said no to his proposal. Geoffrey admitted that he was still in love with Varya, even though the night before he told Mary he was over Varya. Geoffrey is a cad and a jerk, and there's nothing that convinced me otherwise, even though he on Instagram pretends like every other woman has it wrong. And I don't know what it is about the pull with him. Now, for Varya's part, here's what she said. My motto in life, I am the one of those people who after the fact think for another week that I would have rather answered like this way or that way. Enrages terribly. That's all. That's all. The train left and said garbage. Forget it. No, my internal dialogue continues for a very long time, and then I come up with such cool answers akin to something Abraham Lincoln would say. I'm extremely proud of myself. Oh, well, sorry, no one appreciates it anyway. You can release the collection. Late quotes by Varya Malina. What could she have said but didn't? Likely saying that her reaction to Mary was completely inappropriate. Now here she says, or another case, she describes one at the post office, and then she said, I decided to surprise my boyfriend. He wasn't your boyfriend, Varya. He broke up with you. Like, this is the ridiculous part. Like, you guys were done. You had not spoken for 3 months. He was not your boyfriend. He was your ex-boyfriend. I decided to surprise my boyfriend. I appeared on his threshold without an invitation, and he was there, not alone. His company said some things, and I bleated something unintelligible to her. And now I imagine that I met with her again for the first time, and I had such a rock-solid speech. As much as I like Varya, she looked crazy in this video, like in this episode. She looked like a stalker. She looked like completely unhinged and irrational. She admits he didn't respond to her for 3 months. She admits she didn't tell him she was coming because she thought he might say no. She curses him out, his girlfriend out, once she gets there because he happens to be there with another woman. But hey, he wasn't talking to you, Varya, or responding to you, Varya. I can't believe I'm defending Geoffrey. Anyways, she says, hopeless people like me need a thing from the movie Men in Black. I'd point a little wand at a person, red flash, and he'd forget everything. And I'm like, whoop, the second attempt. So basically, she's probably wishing she would have handled herself differently with Mary, which is fine. Again, you live and learn, and she was probably taken off guard by seeing Mary. But at the same time, Varya, what the hell did you expect? Seriously. So Mary was answering questions, on her Instagram, and, you know, this person said, I didn't like you at first, but I need to apologize because I think you're the most composed. Even though you're better than low-life, attention-seeking Geoffrey, you pursued your heart. And even though there would be a risk to ruin your relationship. And then to which Geoffrey is always so kind to people. Seriously, I'm an attention-seeking low-life, yet your face is the only thing that you have on your page. He loves to call people trolls on Instagram. But she seems to be still, I mean, she was offering condolences to him because recently Geoffrey posted a video about the passing of his son, Chasm. And he actually took the video down from YouTube. I don't know why. He said he took it down for some time. I don't know if it wasn't getting very many views. I don't know. I don't know why the video was removed. He had this whole thing where he was going to tell his truth because of the various accusations that have been made about him related to his son, which, by the way, I know nothing about it. I have no opinion about it. I'm not going to talk about it. But he says he puts the video down. But Mary was on there, like, basically saying, I'm really sorry for your loss. I know that you're still dealing with this and you'll never, like, leave it. Here's the thing about Mary is I think that she's just one of those people that is loving and nice to people and that she wants to see the best in Geoffrey. And she even said, like, Geoffrey has never laid a hand on me ever. Yet for the better part of their relationship, they've been friends. And friends are different than boyfriends. And it's always the girls that say, well, it hasn't happened to me, so it can't be true. It hasn't happened to you yet. 2 women have made claims that he was physical with them and he is facing charges for what happened to one of those women, which are still pending. By the way, that happened after he filmed with Varya. So sometime between Varya and Mary, there was somebody else that was in this mess. That woman has never been identified. That person has not been identified. So we don't know who that woman is. But somewhere between Varya and Mary, there's this unknown woman and an arrest. And if you noticed when Varya showed up, it was like the fall because there was leaves on the ground and it looked like crinkled leaves. So it had to have been in like September. So he rekindles things with Mary months later, but before that gets arrested with another woman. So he's obviously had multiple people that he's been with. And P.S. Varya's there like fighting for him and calling Mary out, which is rude, by the way. But Varya and Mary, why are you fighting over this moron? Seriously, please don't. Like, just don't. He's not worth it. You guys are both beautiful women. You both are very intelligent. You both seem incredibly compassionate and have lots to offer. Let the douche canoe go and let him hang out with his friends in the clinker because if he's convicted, that's where he's going. So tell me what your thoughts are. Do you think that it was appropriate for one, Varya to show up without an invitation, 2, be cursing out Mary? What did you think of Mary's response and her explanation that she had to leave, otherwise she would cry? And then what about Geoffrey? What do you think about Geoffrey literally letting Varya barge in and then completely ignoring Mary and letting her leave without any sort of explanation, without any sort of consoling? To me, Geoffrey just comes off as this guy that loves when women fight over him. He seems kind of like a narcissist to me, but again, I can't diagnose him. He just seems off. And I think somehow in a sick way, he enjoyed the fact that these women were fighting over him. And then the fact that she's there and he's like, yeah, you can stay here and I'll hold your hand, even though the night before he was telling Mary, I love you, basically. So what are your thoughts on this? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.